Have you ever been sitting alone, in the quiet hours of the evening, when suddenly anxiety creeps in like an unwelcome guest? Perhaps it starts with small worries, old regrets, or imagined futures. Before you even realize it, the weight of these thoughts presses down on you, leaving you feeling overwhelmed. But what if I told you that this anxiety, rather than being a sign of something wrong, is actually a signpost pointing you towards something important? In this video, we will explore a powerful Buddhist thought that can help you face anxiety head-on, not by fighting it, but by understanding it and learning to live with it. Understanding anxiety through Buddhist wisdom. Anxiety is a universal experience, a silent visitor in our lives that often arrives unannounced and leaves us grappling for understanding. Its roots can seem invisible, hidden beneath the surface, but in Buddhist teachings, these roots are brought into the light and understood as attachment and aversion. Let's take a deeper dive into how these two forces shape our experience of anxiety, and how Buddhist wisdom offers a path to not just manage but transform it. 1. The root of anxiety, attachment and aversion. Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is interconnected and impermanent. This impermanence is at the heart of anxiety. The constant changes we experience, whether in our bodies, relationships, or circumstances, cause us to cling to what we know, to what we love, to the comfortable and familiar. This is attachment. Imagine holding a delicate flower in your hand. The tighter you grip it, the more likely it is to break. In the same way, our attachment to comfort, security, and certainty causes us pain when life changes, as it inevitably does. On the other side of the spectrum is aversion. Aversion is the impulse to push away what we don't want to face, be it pain, loss, illness, or even the passage of time itself. It is the resistance to what is uncomfortable or unwanted, and in this resistance, anxiety often arises. Both attachment and aversion are reactions to life's unpredictability. When we grasp too tightly at what we love or reject too fiercely what we fear, anxiety forms in the space between. I recall the story of my friend Tom, a retired Navy veteran. Tom was the type of person who thrived on routine. He woke up at dawn, took a brisk walk along the lake, and spent the day with purpose. But when an unexpected hip injury forced him to stop walking, something shifted in his soul. The injury wasn't just physical, it was existential. Tom wasn't merely mourning the loss of his daily walk, he was grieving the loss of a version of himself that could move freely. In our conversation, I asked, "Tom, what is it that you're holding onto?" After a long pause, he whispered, "The version of me that could still move freely." His anxiety didn't stem from the physical change itself but from his attachment to the past, to the self he thought he knew. This is the root of much of our anxiety, our unwillingness to let go of how things used to be. In Buddhist philosophy, we learn that suffering arises not from change, but from our resistance to change. Tom's story is a reflection of how attachment to the old can create suffering in the face of the new. Our bodies change, our lives shift, and we must learn to embrace this flow rather than fight it. 2. The liberation of letting go. Buddhism teaches that nothing is permanent. This is not a cause for despair, but an invitation to freedom. The key to overcoming anxiety is learning to let go, to release our tight grip on what we think we need to hold on to. It's not about withdrawing from life or becoming passive, It's about accepting the natural flow of things without trying to control them. Think about it, the anxiety we feel often arises from our desire to control the uncontrollable. We worry about our future, we regret the past, and in doing so, we become trapped in an endless cycle of fear and desire. The Buddhist teachings offer us a liberating truth: letting go is the path to freedom. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a river. You hold a stone in your hand, perhaps it's the fear of losing control, the regret of what's past, or the worry about what's to come. The more tightly you grasp that stone, the heavier it feels, the more exhausted you become. But when you release it and let it fall into the river, you can move freely. In the same way, when we release our attachment to outcomes, to expectations, and to the need for control, we find peace. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or ignoring our feelings. It means accepting life as it comes and trusting that we can navigate it with wisdom and compassion. When we stop grasping, when we let go of our need to control every outcome, anxiety begins to lose its power over us. 3. The thought that frees you. This too is just a thought. At the heart of Buddhist practice lies the understanding that thoughts are not facts. In fact, many of our anxieties are born from distorted or exaggerated thoughts. We think we are our thoughts, but the truth is, we are not. Thoughts are simply mental events that arise and pass away. In the story of Marlene, a 76-year-old widow, we see the impact of unchecked thoughts. After the death of her husband, Marlene found herself trapped in a spiral of anxiety. She would sit in her living room, gripped by the thought, "What if I fall and no one is there?" This thought would quickly evolve into another, "What if I forget something important?" These thoughts, though grounded in some possibility, were not facts. They were fears, possibilities, but not truths. Through mindfulness training, Marlene began to see her thoughts for what they were, just thoughts. She learned to detach from them, to observe them without getting swept up in their narrative. She repeated to herself, "This thought is not me. It is just a thought." Over time, this practice helped her loosen the grip of anxiety. This simple yet profound shift, from identifying with our thoughts to observing them, can change everything. Anxiety arises when we believe our thoughts without question. We treat every thought as truth, and this is what magnifies our fear. But when we recognize that thoughts are impermanent, like clouds drifting through the sky, we can choose not to be consumed by them. 4. Mindfulness, anchoring in the present moment. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention, in the present moment, without judgment. It's about being fully engaged with what is happening right now, rather than being caught in thoughts of the past or future. When we practice mindfulness, we ground ourselves in the present, and in doing so, we dissolve the power of anxiety. The Buddha said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." This teaching speaks directly to the heart of anxiety. Anxiety is rarely about what's happening right now. It is always about what might happen in the future or what we think we should have done in the past. But the present moment, the only moment we truly have, is where peace resides. Consider Frank, a retired carpenter who struggled with anxiety after his wife passed away. Every quiet moment in his life seemed to amplify his fears. What if I forget something important? What if I fall and no one finds me? But when Frank began practicing mindfulness, he learned to focus on his breath, to pay attention to the sensations in his body, and to engage with the world around him in a mindful way. With each breath, Frank returned to the present moment. It was not about forcing his thoughts away or pretending that the anxiety didn't exist. It was about being present with whatever arose, without judgment. Over time, mindfulness allowed him to experience life in a way that was free from the constant grip of anxiety. 5. Compassion, the kindness that softens anxiety. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that compassion is the antidote to suffering. But what if we applied this compassion to ourselves? Too often, we are our harshest critics. We tell ourselves that we should be stronger, more resilient, more capable. This inner critic only adds to our anxiety. Take Ruth, a 79-year-old woman who spent much of her life caring for others. After her sister passed away, Ruth experienced waves of anxiety that left her feeling vulnerable and weak. She felt ashamed of her feelings. But in a mindfulness retreat, Ruth was encouraged to offer herself kindness by repeating the phrase, "May I be kind to myself in this moment." At first, this felt difficult. Ruth wasn't used to being kind to herself. But over time, this simple practice of self-compassion became her anchor. She stopped fighting her anxiety and instead embraced it with kindness. Compassion, as taught in Buddhism, is not about indulging in weakness, it's about offering ourselves the same care we would offer to a loved one. 6. The thought that destroys anxiety, this is not mine. This is not me. One of the most powerful teachings the Buddha offers is the concept of non-self. The idea is simple yet profound. We are not our thoughts, emotions, or experiences. These are temporary phenomena that arise and pass away. When we say, "This is not mine. This is not me," we detach from the belief that we are defined by our anxiety. Consider Walter, an 82-year-old widower who struggled with overwhelming anxiety after his wife's death. He felt like he was disappearing into the fear. But when he learned to apply the Buddhist mantra, "This is not mine. This is not me," something shifted. Slowly, Walter began to observe his anxiety without identifying with it. He didn't eliminate the anxiety, but he no longer allowed it to define him. This practice of non-identification is liberating. It reminds us that we are not our emotions. Anxiety may visit, but it does not define us. We are the awareness that holds the storm, not the storm itself. 7. Applying Buddhist wisdom in daily life. While Buddhist teachings offer profound insights, the true challenge is applying them in our everyday lives. Anxiety doesn't wait for a perfect moment to strike. It often arrives in the middle of the night, in moments of uncertainty, or when we least expect it. The practice is not to wait for the perfect moment to meditate but to bring mindfulness into every moment of our lives. As you go about your day, practice pausing, breathing, and gently reminding yourself, "This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am." Let this mantra anchor you. In moments of anxiety, instead of battling it, simply return to the present moment, knowing that peace is always available when you stop grasping. By weaving together these elements of Buddhist wisdom, attachment and aversion, letting go, mindfulness, compassion, and non-self, we find a path not just to reduce anxiety, but to transform it. Through these practices, we learn to live more fully, embracing life's impermanence with an open heart and a peaceful mind. Anxiety will still come and go, but we no longer have to be consumed by it. Instead, we learn to live alongside it, holding it gently, and ultimately, finding peace in the midst of the storm. The truth is, anxiety is not your enemy. It is a messenger, pointing you toward what needs healing, what needs letting go, and what needs to be embraced with compassion. As you practice these Buddhist teachings, you'll find that peace is not something that comes when anxiety disappears, it's something you carry with you even in the midst of the storm. So, the next time anxiety knocks at your door, invite it in not as an adversary, but as a teacher. And remember, you are not broken. You are not your anxiety. You are the calm that remains when the storm passes. This video draws from the wisdom of Buddhism to offer comfort and practical advice for those struggling with anxiety. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more reflections grounded in Buddhist teachings.